Always read the instructions, kids, because I've just spent longer than I should looking for a missing sleeve. This rather large anonymous looking box contains a Triton Spindle Sander, and I bought this at the Yandles woodworking show, and I was collecting it off the back of the Triton lorry when luthier Ben Crow of Crimson Guitars came over, and I asked him the not unreasonable question of whether he owned one of these, because I'd seen him use a different one in a video, and I hadn't actually seen one at his workshop when I was there. But as I asked this question, his face sort of lit up with this demonic grin, and he produced his multi-tool and proceeded to open the box, with my blessing, to reveal his picture on the box. Mind you, he didn't actually answer my question. Right, let's get this open and find out what's inside. Instructions. Ooh, lots and lots of spindles. Big ones. Don't know what that is. Small spindle. Slightly less small spindle. Lots of sandpaper and some attachment tools. And I've just realised what these are. These are all the plates that go in the decks for the different spindles. Very nice. Lots of oil. Oh no, can I get this out easily? That's it. I hate getting my hands greasy, so I'm just going to wipe all the oil off the plate. And I'll go read the instructions. Here's the full kit of parts. It comes with 6 sleeves and 5 drums, 3 washers that fit on the top, and a plate which goes underneath. Now, a small warning, always read the instructions, kids, because I've just spent longer than I should looking for a missing sleeve, because as I just said, there are 5 sleeves but 6 drums, and of course the reason is that you don't use a drum for the smallest sleeve. And the thing that threw me is round the back here there's an extra slot for a sleeve. I love the way that these sleeves all have their little spot around the base of it, and you've got slots for the plates as well that fit in the middle. But I was really confused by the extra spindle. And yeah, it's quite clear that in the instructions that you don't need a sleeve for the smallest. You don't need a drum for the smallest sleeve. Another thing, this nut, when I just tried to remove it, and it still is a little bit stiff, and I was having trouble getting it off, but I think it's just a little bit of roughness on the edge of the thread and the machining, and I'm hoping that will settle down. So I'm going to use the largest of the drums. First of all, we put the plate on with the slots upwards. I guess that's for a little bit of extra friction. And I gather you always use that plate regardless of what size spindle you're using. I think I put the drum on first, and I think putting this plate on is the last thing we do. I'll put it on now. The sleeve goes over the drum. The largest washer goes on the top. You use the largest washer for the largest 3 sleeves, the medium one for the next 2 sleeves, and the small washer for the thinnest sleeve. So I'm sure I'm going to end up losing some of these washers, but maybe I can just slot them in these slots here. Oh, I'm never going to get that out. Haha, I wish I hadn't done that now. Oh well, we'll be alright. There we go, I'll put those in there. Yeah, Triton, if you want to make improvements, let's have some little hooks for the washers so we don't lose them. And I don't know what to do with the sleeves. They will yes, of course, you can actually put the sleeves over the extra spindle at the back. Maybe you just keep the sleeves with their drums. That is why the extra peg is there, because there's no drum for the sleeve. You put the sleeve over it. Yay! Right. Without cross-threading this, and you have to crank it up enough that the sleeve doesn't slip. It presses down on the rubber expands and provides the friction needed to hold the sleeve in place. Brilliant. The next thing for me is to put the dust extraction on the port, and then we'll give it a go. The instruction manual recommends that this is bolted to your bench. I'm not going to do that for the purposes of this video, but a good tip they've got in the instruction manual is if you're going to be using this as a mobile unit, then get yourself a sheet of plywood or something and bolt it to the plywood, and then you can just clamp it to wherever you're working, and that's what I'm going to do, I think, but not for the purposes of this video. I've currently got a bit of a wobble on here because there are effectively 4 feet on this, and it's currently sitting astride the bench. Hopefully when I twist it back round again, it will sit on the bench, but I'm not going to use it like that. Also, something to note, there is in fact a slot for the spanner. I'd missed that earlier, so that's good. I'm going to put my Dyson vacuum cleaner on here. Now, unlike the record scroll saw that I reviewed recently, this is a slightly different diameter. This is the usual diameter I've found on other power tools, and my Dyson, although it doesn't clip on, it does locate. There are 2 rims here, and the inner one goes inside and the outer one sits outside, so it locates, and then I simply get a piece of gaffer tape, duct tape. Do people call it duct tape? I think there's a duck brand, isn't there? And that's perfectly adequate for my needs, so that's fine. But it will actually sit squarely on the bench, although my bench isn't that sturdy. Right, moment of truth. Will it work? This hasn't always been the case with power tools I've bought, but let's see. And the answer is yes. Right, the first thing I'm going to try is MDF, horrible stuff, but I'm interested to see how much dust is thrown off, because I'm not wearing a mask, which I should be, but I'm not going to be doing much sanding here. I'm hoping that the extraction is going to be enough that we're not going to get much dust, because it's all going to be drawn down. So let's find out. Switch the vacuum cleaner on. Spindle sander. That's quite nice finish. that answers one question about outside curves. I mean, I would say a spindle sander isn't ideal for an outside curve if you want to get it really, really smooth. But then what is? Maybe a disc sander. I guess this is in its element for inside curves, which is what I'm going to try. Actually, I have an inside curve there. Let me just quickly try that. Well, this is brilliant because there's no dust, so I'm loving this. This is excellent, particularly when you're using MDF. So that looks really nice. So I guess with a little bit of practice you can do outside curves, but as I say, I'm sure using something more like a rotating disc sander would be better. I've just noticed that the sleeve, I've not got this tight enough. But let's move on to another piece of actual work that I'm doing rather than just mucking around with old routing templates. And so to a piece of actual work. I've routed this out roughly and I just want to smooth it. Now it happens that the 50mm fits that perfectly, but if I use this I'm going to be widening this gap and I don't want this gap any wider. So I think I'm going to have to use the 38mm and then just work it backwards and forwards and just get it nice and smooth. Second problem is the height. This is going to be going up and down, and the recommended washer for this is the large washer, which is going to go over the edge of the piece, which I'm sure that can't be as intended, surely. So it won't work. The washer's going to be rubbing against the work. So they don't recommend this, but I'm going to use the slightly smaller washer. I'm sure that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. So let's see how quickly I can get this all assembled. I'm going to use 38mm plate. Right, stick me on the clock. And I'll put that around the back for now. Leave it there. Right, swap that out. Put that in. And goes there. And somewhere for that washer. Slot at the back. Nice and tight. Yeah, the small washer's being driven down. I think probably over tighten that a little bit. The small washer's being driven down into the rubber drum. It doesn't need to be that tight at all. Yeah, one for luck. There we go. Okay, let's see how we get on with that. That's pretty good. I've got to be a little bit careful here because I'm sanding more at the edges than in the middle, so I'm probably going to be rounding this over a little bit, so I've just got to make sure I don't do that. But it certainly works. The thing I loved about that, if you saw the spirals of dust getting sucked down into the base and into the vacuum cleaner, there's no dust from this at all, which is amazing. You can do lots and lots of sanding and not choke. I'm really pleased with this. The dust extraction is brilliant. I did use a mask in the end, but there's almost no need. There seemed to be very little airborne dust. I'd like to use this for all my sanding, but I suspect it's not ideal for flat surfaces. But for getting curvy, for doing templates and all that, it's superb. I did wonder about the grit of the sleeves. It doesn't seem to say in the manual what grit they are, but I have some extra drums, and I believe they are 80 grit, judging from a visual of my other drums. I've got 80, I've got 150, and I've got 240. So that should serve me well. So I hope this was useful. I think this is going to be one of my favourite power tools, to be honest. I'm blown away by this. So I just wish I could use it for all my sanding, but you can't have it all, can you? So if you've enjoyed this video, then click like, subscribe. It all helps me make other videos. So I'll see you later. Bye.